Hi everyone, welcome to this video tutorial where we're going to have a look at creating your own survey using this feature in Google Docs called Forms. And I'm going to show you how to create a simple survey that you can email out to other people very easily to get their responses and basically fill in your survey that way. It's very easy to do. Okay, so we'll just get started. We need to have Google Docs open in front of us. We also need a couple of other things that will help the survey process to be quick and straightforward. A couple of other things that I've got here are my draft questions, which I've sort of put together before even constructing the survey. I've just thought about my questions, and I've got 10 questions here in two groups of 5. And basically these draft questions are what we call grid style questions. And the reason they're grid style is because we have 5 statements, okay, and then basically next to each of those statements there are these possible responses: always, usually, sometimes, rarely, or never. So basically what it's going to look like in the survey is we'll have the statement, and then next to it we'll have the options for selecting whether that is always the case, whether it's usually, sometimes, rarely, or never the case. Down here I've got another 5 statements. This time I've chosen different categories. I've got strongly disagree, neither disagree or agree, and strongly agree. Okay, so for these 5 statements here I'm looking at one of these possible responses. Okay. The other thing that I've got is a little survey process summary, and this is really important, and your teacher will talk to you about this when you're constructing your survey, but it's very important that you are upfront with the people that you're surveying about the purpose of your survey and what you intend doing with the information that they provide. Okay, so I'm going to show you how to get started with that. Now basically in Google Docs all we need to do is click on Create New, and then we're going to click on Form. It's just right over here, okay? And this just creates a survey form straight away that we can get going with, okay? And there's a few little bits and pieces of information here. So you've got, first of all, I'm going to start with the title, and this is the Year 7 Self-Esteem PBL. And it's a survey on the impact of acne to a person's self-esteem. Okay. And then basically here we have this little summary box. Okay, and I really think this box is really important because you are emailing this out to other students, some of whom won't know necessarily what your survey is about and what you intend on doing with their information that they provide. So what I'm going to do now is show you this document that I've prepared here, and it's my survey process summary. Okay, basically I'm telling the students here that this is a questionnaire that's been emailed to you by Jane Smith for Year 7 Connected Learning. Okay, really important just to indicate that at the start. And I've said that it fits into the study of the unit and the PBL assessment task for the topic self-esteem as part of the topic, focusing on acne and its effect on the self-esteem of young adults. Okay, so just really saying right away what the purpose of the survey is. Okay, and then why you're doing it here. Okay, and I've got down here the specific purpose of this survey is to enable us to find out more about young people's attitudes to acne, problems related to poor self-esteem, what people think about themselves and their self-image, factors which cause negative self-esteem, what needs to be done about young people who suffer from acne. Okay, so once again I'm just stepping out the purpose of the survey. By conducting this survey, we hope that you'll be able to understand the self-esteem of young adults who suffer from acne. I sincerely value your feedback. Okay, so just looks very straightforward, but it's very important. This paragraph is probably the most important in the survey process summary. Okay, basically here I'm indicating to the reader and the person who's going to complete my survey that I am going to use their results. Okay, if they type a result, it's a longer result, then I'm going to use that. We may also, I've got down here in the last sentence, we may in future lessons show the spreadsheet and any class for further discussion. So that's really important. Here I've got the structure of the survey, and I have stepped it out in sections, and I've only done the first 2 sections in my draft, but I could add easily to like a section 3, and you're just letting them know what the sections are. Okay. Here I've said that the survey is optional, and that's very important. You don't want to require the person to do your survey if it's going to be upsetting for them. Okay, so that's really important. The information you provide will be very useful. Should you have any further questions or feedback concerning the survey, please contact me. So it's very important you put a contact in, so they can contact you if you've got questions about it. Okay. What I've just typed is really, really, really important, but hopefully you can see that it's all about being upfront. It's about being very honest and letting people know what you're going to do with the information that they provide to you. So because I've typed this all up, I can actually take it and I'm going to copy it into this section of the survey here. Okay, I'll just take that first line out, and you can see there it is. Okay. So now we get to the questions themselves, and I'm just going to zoom down here, and this is going to be question 1. Now, question 1 I'm actually going to call section 1 because I'm going to use a grid style, and a grid style question lets me actually include a whole range of questions within the one question. So I'm calling this section 1, and I'll give it a title. I'll go back and look at my draft. So section 1 is, section 1 is, I guess, in relation to my daily practices, I could say. I'll call it daily practices because these are things that just sort of happen every day, things that I think about every day, and we're either always, usually, sometimes, rarely, or never for these questions. So I'll call it daily practices. Okay, and I'm just going to put some help text in here. So I'll just say next to each statement, choose the bubble that best indicates your thought. Okay. Okay. Now, question type over here. I'm going with the grid. Okay, and this grid is going to have 5 columns. Okay, now the columns are going to be the same as what I've got right up here. So for this first one, it's always, usually, sometimes, rarely, or never. Okay, so all I need to do is put those in, always, okay, and those are the columns. Okay, so now the rows are going to be my statements, and I can actually just copy them in. So statement number 1, and it helps if you've drafted them because this is a lot quicker once you've got your questions ready to go. There's 2, there's 3, 4. You should see it's quite quick to do. 5. I'm going to show you how this looks once I've finished it, so you can get a sense of how it's going to look in the email when you send it to the person. Okay, I'm going to tick done. And here I've got the statements now. It says daily practices. Next to each statement, choose the bubble that best indicates your thoughts. I check my reflection in the mirror 3 or more times a day. Okay, and then when they're completing the survey, they're going to tick one of these. Okay, and we get to the next statement. I look people in the eyes when speaking to them. Okay, and then they're going to tick one of those. I'm proud of my smile. I'm worried whenever I see pimples breaking out. I wash my face more than twice a day. So you get the idea. Okay, so even though that was one question, I've actually now got 5 sort of sub-questions in it. Okay, so that's why I called it Section 1, Daily Practices. And I'm going to add now question 2, and I'll call that, I'm actually going to call this any optional information. So you click the little pencil icon, and I'm just going to call this optional information. And I'll just say, please, further information optional in relation to your thoughts on any of the above statements. And there we go. So this is just going to be a paragraph text question. So I'll show you how to get that. We go in paragraph text, and that looks a bit like this. Okay, so they get their longer answer there. And I just say done. Okay, and so at this point they've got the statements here. They're going to agree, they're going to always, usually, sometimes, rarely, or never for those. And then underneath it's optional. Please provide any further information in relation to your thoughts about any of these. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is add a question, and the way to do that is to add an item up here. So I've got 2 questions, but I want to add another one. So just add an item, and I'm going to add a grid question there. Okay, and I'll just call this one Section 2, and I'll just say attitudes to acne. Okay, and I'm just going to use the same help text as question 1, so I can actually take that. I just hit the edit button next to that and just copy this help text, zoom out, finish that one, done. Okay, now we're going down here, the edit button, copy the help text in. Okay, so it's a grid question. Now the columns for this question here, or these statements rather, are the ones that I've got in my draft down here. So this time we're using 5 statements, but we're using these columns: strongly disagree, disagree, neither disagree or agree, agree or strongly agree. So okay, and now I just need to use these rows here to put in my statements for Section 2. You'll see it's very easy to do. And there we go. So that's done. And then I can just tick done there. Okay. You notice as well, when you just before you tick done, you've got this option here, make this a required question. Okay, which means people completing a survey have to put in responses for that particular question, and it's going to not accept it if they don't. I'm not going to do that for this particular survey because I'm making it optional, and if a student doesn't want to answer a particular statement, that's fine. Okay, so it's up to you, but talk about it with your teacher if you need to. Okay, so there we go. Just having a look now at Section 2, attitudes, and we have there all the statements that I've put in, and next to them I've got my different categories, as you can see here. Okay, so this is going to give me some really interesting information once I email this out. I do want to just add another optional for this particular section, so I'm going to add an item, and I'm going to choose paragraph. Okay, zoom out, and I'll just put same thing here. So we're just going to go optional information I'll just grab the text from this one. Edit that one. Paste the help text in. It's paragraph text. Tick done. Okay. And so basically now this is what my survey is going to look like. It's got the title. I've got a process summary there. I have 2 sections with optional information for each. Now, if I wanted to add a 3rd section, I could at this point. In this case, I'm just going to leave it there for now because you know, time and everything. But you can see how easy it is to add other sections. Don't make your survey too long, is my advice, because you don't want it to take forever for the other person to have to complete it. So this is a nice one. I would think that to do this one it would probably take about 10 minutes. Alright, so let's just have a little look now at how you go about emailing this out. Now before you email it, there's just a few boxes up here that do need your attention. Okay. This one here is allow users to edit responses, and that means that if you tick this box, basically as they go they can edit, and they can also go back and change their response at the end. Because I would like just to have one response and just for that to be the definitive response, I'm going to leave that blank. This box here is require Carolyn Chisholm College to sign in to view this form. I do think you should tick that because we're surveying students within the school, so we only want those students. Now if you were surveying outsiders, of course you'd want to get their permission first, and you'd untick that box. Okay, and what that means is that this form will be accessible outside of Carolyn Chisholm. I'm just going to cancel that. Okay, so just get your teacher's permission before you do that. The 3rd box here is automatically collect respondents' Carolyn Chisholm College username. What that does, if you tick it, is it's going to collect the email address of the person that responds to your survey. For this one, I am just going to go anonymous. I don't want to collect email addresses because I want to make sure that people feel that they can answer honestly without me, you know, knowing it was them and thinking badly of them and so on. So I'm going to leave that blank. Okay. And we're ready to go with the email. You can choose a theme if you like. I'm going to stick with plain, but I'm going to go over here to email this form. Okay, and what happens now is you can send the form to other people. So just start typing in the names of those people. Make sure you check with your teacher as to who you can email for this, but you can just go. Okay, so I'm going to email this one to all the Year 7 Col teachers. So I'll email it to myself. I'll email it to Miss Browning. There it is, Miss Browning and Mr. McNamara. Make sure you get the Carolyn Chisholm address. Okay, Miss Rowe, we'll need that. Miss Araya, there she is, and Miss Dunphy. Okay, and so these people are now going to receive my email survey, and I'm going to tick this one, include the form in the email. There's the subject, and I'm going to hit the send button. You'll see it's very easy. That email's now gone. So I'm going to show you what happens once you receive the email. Okay, so if I go to my mail, because remember I emailed this to myself, it's going to come up in my inbox, and there it is. Year 7 Self-Esteem PBL Survey on the Impact of Acne to a Person's Self-Esteem. Okay, and now I'll have to put paragraphs in by the looks of it. That's okay. There's the survey statement, and we go to the sections, and you can see here there's the statements, and I've got to choose whether I always, usually, sometimes, rarely, or never, whether that applies to me. Okay, we get to the optional information which you can type in, and I'm just going to have a go at doing this now. Okay. And I'll leave the optional blank. Okay. Leave that blank, and then I hit the submit button. And I go okay. And it says thanks, your response has been recorded. So what happens now is that I've got one response, which has been my own response, and it's good to do your own one just to test that it works. And I'm going back into my Google Docs, and I'm just going to refresh the browser at this point, and I should see, here it is, this form here, Year 7 PBL, and it's a green icon that tells me it's a form and a spreadsheet, and there it is. If I click on that, what I've got now is my response there. Okay, it tells me here the time that the response was made, which is today's date and today's time, which is just because I did it a minute ago. It also says section 1, and there are all the statements. Okay, and it's got the optional information for section 1, and basically it tells me the responses that have been made there. Section 2, and there you go, optional information. So the information goes in here at this point, and it's recorded into a spreadsheet. As you get more people answering their survey and submitting that, you'll get more information coming into the spreadsheet, which is really handy. What you might want to do once you've got a lot of people that have responded to it is to do what's called a show summary of responses, and you'll find that here in the form menu. Okay, and you just say show summary of responses. While you're here, you can also see this little tick here says accepting responses, which means if that's ticked, it's going to still accept responses. If I wanted to close off the survey, what I can do is to untick that, and that will then make the survey not collect any more information. Okay, so show summary of responses. If I tick that, you get a little window that looks pretty much like this, and it tells me that I've got one response at the moment. So that's my own response. And then we get this summary. Okay, so it tells me with each section and each statement the percentage of responses for that. So here, because I ticked usually, I'm getting one response and it's 100%. Okay, so if I had say 20 responses and people are ticking different things, it will tell you the percentage of who ticked what. Okay, and then we go down to section 1, going through all of those statements, and you can see it's very easy to get the information there. Optional information here, it will just give you a little digest of what people have typed. Okay, section 2, you can see here that same sort of thing applies. Okay, and the reason it's because it says 100% is because there's only been one response. So 100% of the response, and that's that. Okay, so you can see there that it's very easy to get that sort of information. Okay, and at this point, you can start to think about how you might use that information in your presentation to the class. If you're doing a presentation, or if you're writing an essay, how you're going to use it there, or if you're doing some other activity related to it, you've got some good information at the point where you've had a lot of people respond to that survey. So basically this has been surveys using Google Docs and the Forms feature of Google Docs with Mr. Stevenson. I hope you got a lot out of it. If you would like this video, please ask your teacher for it, and you can watch it again and have a go at doing your own survey. Good luck with your research.